Got it. Let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Find the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular council meeting of October 14th at 6:30 here not in the council chambers, it's in my office back here. They're setting up for the election up there. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Abrams?
I think we need a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, no, that comes after the roll call vote.
Oh, roll call as in
Attendance.
here.
Attendance.
Yes.
Aha, I am here.
Okay, Councilor Abraham?
Here.
Councilor Holly?
Here.
And Councilor Jaramillo? Not seeing Councilor Jaramillo yet. Okay, we've got a quorum, so we can move on. That does make the first item then approval of the agenda, and I'll entertain a motion on that.
I'll move to approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. We'll do a roll call. Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
And Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item is our consent agenda. We've got two sets of council meeting minutes and a wastewater treatment plant report for the month of September 2020. I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mayor, can I ask that we pull the wastewater treatment plant report for discussion?
Yes, but let's do it after we get our motion made. Anybody got a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
You got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We'll have discussion. Councilor Abraham, you had something to talk about?
I did. I had asked for Mr. Hall to be available to answer questions about the wastewater plant, because I see he's saying stuff here, but I don't see any numbers as to what the most current lab reports show or anything like that.
And they won't be coming in until the end of the month when the quarter's up, and our plan was to have him, once he gets those numbers in, maybe have him at that next meeting out in November there. In the meantime, you've got this report here, and I've got an update to give myself.
Okay, so then is my understanding that he will be present to present quarterly reports, and during the other months we'll just get something like this?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. Do a roll call vote. Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Nay, because I'm not happy with this wastewater
That's
report.
cool. And Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Okay, the next thing up is discussion items. The first one up is Carla Salazar is here on the screen with us tonight to talk about the CARES Act Small Business Grant Funding. Go ahead, Carla.
Well, both Tanya and I are here, and we can both speak to it. We've been the ones most involved with Santa Fe County. The town of Edgewood, Santa Fe County, and the city of Santa Fe applied jointly for a small business grant, and we were awarded about $3.8 million. So we now have an application that's available and ready to go, and we're encouraging small businesses to apply. This is a grant. It's not a loan. And it's available to any business registered in Santa Fe County. Tanya, is there anything you want to ask?
No, I believe that, we're open to work with any business that's having a hard time with the application. It is pretty lengthy and it's a little bit confusing. So if you hear of anybody that, needs some help, we definitely have them reach out to us and we can help them walk through it with them.
There's been a lot of information put out on this grant, so we're getting a ton of phone calls. One of the things to be aware of is this grant is only for businesses located in Santa Fe County, including Edgewood. It's not for businesses, unfortunately, out of Moriarty. I think Moriarty and Torrance County have their own program. It's not for businesses located in Edgewood, but in Bernalillo County. So it's very specific to businesses located in Santa Fe County.
Okay.
And businesses that have suffered some kind of COVID-related losses, monetary losses. I will tell you that we've already had Edgewood businesses apply, so I think it's working.
Okay. That's the CARES Act Small Business Grant Funding. Then there's the CARES Act Local Government Grant Funding. Go ahead and tell us about that one.
The town of Edgewood received $50,000 for COVID-related expenses. That includes PPE, air purifiers, anything we did related to COVID. The reimbursement. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So is this money that was received by the town for town use only?
Yes, the money received for the town was for uses the town incurred on COVID-related expenses.
Okay.
We received the two grants, the $50,000 for the town, and then the small business grant.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Carla or Tanya on the small business grant funding or local government grant funding?
So we're helping out with the registration, but we're not doing any of the reporting. Is that correct?
No, we're actually involved in all aspects of it, from advertising it to helping people with the applications. The only thing we're not doing is taking the application. The three entities have gotten together and decided it would be better if an independent vendor took in the applications, so that there would just be no perception of any sort of, just any sort of favoritism. So there are independent organizations accepting the applications, but we are certainly available to help anybody fill out the application.
And do you have a list of what constitutes documented qualified expenses? Because that's going to be real important.
It's receipted expenses that a business would have incurred for COVID-related expenses, like plexiglass, like PPE, payroll, mortgage payments, rent payments, anything you can document. The biggest one is probably payroll.
On their agenda,
Yeah.
they've
Go ahead.
got comment on general matters.
I don't think I heard that.
I'm sorry, that was someone from the public speaking on the phone.
I will say one last thing, just get the information out. It's really important that businesses apply.
So, Ms. Salazar, so someone can get started, would they go to our town website and download the application there, and then they could follow up with questions with you?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
That's been the majority of our calls for the last 2 days.
All right, thanks.
Good.
Okay, moving along then, the next item B is matters from the Planning and Zoning Administrator, manufactured housing. Tanya, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so in your packet you have Article 21A, Manufactured Housing and Zoning. So this is a copy of the Manufactured Housing and Zoning Act for the state of New Mexico. And the reason that we put that in there and that I wanted to address everybody tonight is we've had a few calls about a subdivision off of 344, Ravens Roost subdivision. That has been purchased by a manufactured Clayton Homes, by Clayton Homes, He purchased all 6 lots, and he is putting manufactured homes out there. A lot of people are pretty upset about it and wanted us to do something about it. However, I wanted everybody to know that it's against the law for us to try to prevent them from going in to any subdivision. The only way that you can keep a manufactured home out of an area is if there is an active HOA with covenant that says that it can only be stick-built homes. So I just wanted to give you guys a copy of that so everyone is aware that we cannot keep them out. We cannot prevent them from coming in. But it is our practice every time somebody comes to us and says, hey, I just bought a lot, and they give us the address, can we put a manufactured home there? And what we always say is, as far as our zoning rules go, yes, you can. It needs to be on a permanent foundation. However, you need to check with your title company and see if there's any covenants that prevent you from having a manufactured home. So I just wanted to quickly give you that update. There's no need to read through it or anything, but for me to read it to you. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that's what our practice is. We don't know what areas have those covenants. We don't research it. That is up to the individual that's buying the lot, the real estate.
Tanya, I have a quick question because I ran across something just recently with a lot that I purchased that said there are not covenants, there's not an active HOA, but there are title restrictions against manufactured housing.
Again, that is something that we wouldn't administer or anything like that. That would be, I don't know who would administrate that, Councilor Abraham, if there's not an active HOA. I just like what, the state law has, federal law, and what our zoning ordinance says. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I guess we just need to maybe do some more research to answer those questions, because I know a lot of the properties in the East Mountains specifically restricted manufactured homes when they filed their subdivision requests. So even though there's not an active HOA, there are restrictions that may have been recorded.
Yes. Yes, and they should get all that information, when they're doing their title searches and whatnot. So, but like I said, we just let them know that they need to do that. If they call us back and say, yes, it says that we can't have a manufactured home, then we will tell them, then you need to, go a different route, I suppose. So, but we can't tell them anything about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Council have any other questions for Ms. Mortensen? All right, moving along, then the next item is matters from the mayor. I've got several items tonight. Okay, the first thing we've got is update on the trash days at the soccer field this summer. First one we had there, I think, was in the end of July, and there was 100 customers that came to that one, or 100 people that put stuff in. The second one in August had 160, and the third one had 221. Every time they had that, there was the boxes got filled up, the containers got filled up every time, and they basically closed down before the end of the day. The cost to the town was $7,000 for all of that, and I wanted to thank some of our staff that put that on for us. There's Carla Salazar, she put most of that together. James Solomon and Joe Finfrock helped out. Chuck Williams, Pete Montano, Manny and Matt, and Courtney Labrum. They were all out there at different times, but they helped look over things and make sure that it worked out successfully. We want to shout out to the council, to the staff for the good job they did out there. The next item then is Councilor Abraham had asked about speed trailers. And we've looked into some, went to a number of sites, and we've got quotes here basically anywhere from 15,000, 18,000, back down to 8,000. Kind of depends on what you want them to do, how much tricks and treats they've got. And I guess what I would ask is, council, if you want us to look into, go take it further and try to purchase one, let us know what your thoughts are. The fanciest one was there at $18,545, and the cheaper ones back down over here were down in the $6,000 range. And I think it's a matter, like most things, where if you want more tricks, one's got pretty good message center sign on it. They've got the radar, shows the speed and what you're doing, and I guess screams at you to slow down if you're going too fast. And the next thing I have, Counselor, as I told Counselor Abraham, there is an update from the Environment Department, and I'd like to read it, parts of it here. Let's see. It goes to the Honorable John Bassett, Mayor, Town of Edgewood. And this is in reference to the NOV compliance status update, Town of Edgewood Wastewater Treatment Plant, DP 1654. Dear Mr. Bassett, the New Mexico Environment Department has reviewed your letter titled Updated Responses to the Notice of Violation received by the Department on July 7th, 2020. On September 5th, 2018, NMED issued a Notice of Violation to the Town of Edgewood addressing violations of the town's wastewater treatment plant facility groundwater discharge permit. On October 18th, 2018, NMED received a response to the NOV from the town identifying efforts to return to compliance. In a letter dated January 29th, 2019, NMED responded to the town's October 2018 response. NMED performed a facility inspection on June 25th, 2019. This correspondence addresses the compliance status of each item addressed in the NOV per the request in the letter. Item number 1, corrective action report requirement. NMED's January 2019 response deemed the associated violation resolved. Item number 2, proposal for alternative disposal location. NMED's January 2019 response deemed the associated violation to be inappropriate. The item acknowledged the town's proposed alternate disposal system construction schedule. The alternative disposal system went online in January of 2020, and NMED considers this item resolved. Item number 3, construction of an impervious surface for sludge composting. NMED's January 2019 response declared the town's October 2018 proposed timeline for construction of an impervious surface for composting dewatered sludge and associated interim actions appropriate. The town has provided NMED with continued updates on the construction project. The Groundwater Quality Bureau understands that NMED's Construction Programs Bureau has received and approved plans and specifications for an impervious surface, and the town has awarded the contract. Upon completion of pad construction and submittal of approval of as-built drawings, NMED will consider this violation resolved. And council, I can tell you, it's mostly built. There's a valve yet that's missing on some of the plumbing back into the main building, and they've got some fine grading to do around the entrance where you drive into it. Item number 4, failure to maintain adequate freeboard in the synthetically lined impoundment. During NMED's June 2019 inspection, the department verified that the town has maintained the required 2 feet of freeboard in the impoundment. NMED considers this item resolved. Item number 5, removal and disposal of stockpiled solids. The town completed removal and disposal of all solids improperly stockpiled on site prior to February 1st, 2019. The town sampled the stockpile solids and transported them to the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Authority for disposal. The town performed confirmatory soil sampling under the stockpiled solids. NMED received the soil sampling results on March 6, 2019, confirming that infiltration of contaminants from the stockpile solids had not penetrated greater than 12 to 14 feet below ground surface. NMED considers this item resolved. Item number 6, incomplete analytical results submissions and quarterly monitoring reports. The town has submitted the required quarterly monitoring reports with all analytical results required by the discharge permit conditions and has included the corrected analytes listed by the NOV. NMED considers this item resolved. So there you have it, council. I wanted to thank several people on this item. First and foremost, we've got Mike Garcia, who's out there every day giving oversight at the plant, making things run. He's done a hell of a job for us. He's, just a good, solid employee, shows up every day and does his job. I also wanted to thank James Solomon and Joe Finfrock for their work at the plant last fall, helping get the alternative disposal system built. James was out there with the backhoe and Joe was out there, and they were both in the ditch different times, but they got that system laid out east of the plant there so it can help get rid of the excess water. I also wanted to thank Larry Hall for his expertise and oversight. I believe myself, since I've been in office, that he seems to have about the best understanding of that plant, that type of plant, that anyone I've ever discussed it with. He brings a lot of knowledge to it, and I think we're the beneficiaries of that. Also wanted to thank Carla Salazar. She gets all the complaints and the IPA requests that involve the wastewater system. And, I can't say enough about her dedication to trying to get those answers out as quick and as well as she can. It's a challenge all the time because it's a system there that has some problems. But between working with the state, the people here, the employees and that, she does a hell of a job. And Carla, I want to tip my hat to you on that. You do us very proud. And thank you for everything you do on that front. Also, I want to thank Juan Torres for his dedication. Since he got here, that plant has been problematic, and he has stayed with it. He has worked to find financing, to find membranes, to find people to put out there. He's done just about anything that the situation is required for, and he gets a lot of grief for it, and that's not good. His job looking over that plant equals or exceeds anything anybody else done before. And Juan, I want to thank you for your efforts there. The next item I want to shout out to Chief Sanchez for the nice story in last week's Independent. Y'all can see it there. I urge you to go out and get a copy of it. It's a real nice story. Chief, thank you for the kind words you had in there for the town.
Thank you, sir. They were too hard.
Yeah. And lastly, I want to thank Tamara and the Independent for providing our Facebook. Leota's a little under the weather tonight, and she's filling in for her. Thank you. The other things I had, Councilor Abraham had sent some questions. Real quick on that, the Purple Heart Trail signs have been ordered, and when they arrive, we'll get them up. I checked in the office, and the packet that went out Friday went out to everyone on the governing body. If there was a problem in you getting it, I'm going to suggest perhaps it's on your end. And as far as preliminary agendas, we did away with them a number of years ago because of the confusion they caused. People would see something on that one and then it wouldn't show up on the final one for whatever reason. And when we had talked to Randy Van Vleck at our training, he basically said the same thing. Avoid the confusion, and a final one on the Friday is as good as it's going to get. So that's where I'm at on matters from the council, or matters from the mayor. And I will move along now to public comment on general matters. So for anybody from the public, go ahead and give me your name so I can put it on the sign-in sheet.
Hello, my name is Carla.
Who?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My name is Carla Corona.
Okay. Who's next?
Karen Kaiser.
Okay, and who's next? Okay, that being the case, we'll start now with Carla Corona. Go ahead, Ms. Corona.
Thank you. I just tuned in tonight because I had put a comment on my Nextdoor feed on my computer concerning the water. The EPCOR water seeming harder than it even has been. We've gone through 2 pumps for our cooler and 2 sets of pads in the last 6 weeks. And anyway, I received so many comments from people that I decided to tune in tonight to just, I know the condition of the water underground. I understand that, but I just wondered if there's anything that we could look into, any sort of private and public situation that we could look into to try to improve this water at all.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Karen Kaiser.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, governing body. And I was really excited to see that tonight you're finally going to address our capital asset list so that maybe we'll do better on our next audit. And I just want to again mention, she may not be there this evening, but we have on the governing body probably one of the most respected governmental auditors in the state of New Mexico, in Audrey Jaramillo. So I really hope that you'll all turn to her for guidance on this, since we have struggled to get the capital asset list right. She's truly an expert, and we're lucky to have her right there. When I looked at the list, I didn't find any easements, and I was wondering where they are, because I would think they are capital assets. I know that there have been several, Mayor Bassett, donated by or purchased from your family, and I think we need not only to have those listed as capital assets, but to have some public record of these land transfers so that we have transparency in discussing matters like that, and we know what transacted. So again, I just really beg you to turn to Audrey Jaramillo to make sure that you're properly completing the capital asset list. She has knowledge that none of you have, and we haven't gotten it right so far, or we wouldn't have had the audits that we've had during the last 5 years. So I know that as a governing body you can do better, and I think she can help. Thank you.
Mayor.
Is there anybody else who hasn't spoken who'd like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none.
Mayor, point of order.
What's up?
I just wanted to make sure that the public knew and that the minutes reflected that I arrived 10 minutes late. I think without, the public just can't see the video, so they don't obviously know who is on the go-to meeting at this point. But just wanted to let them know I arrived 10 minutes late.
All right. Next item up is matters from the councilors. Councilor Jaramillo.
Okay. I don't have too many comments tonight. It's been a busy time for everyone. glad to see we're addressing some of the issues on capital assets this evening as well. I do have the same request again and would like the minutes to reflect, as I did last meeting and the time before, that I'm encouraging the town to just be willing to explore the option of a water treatment plant and what's called a P3 in public-private partnership. And thank you, Carla, for calling in tonight. I saw your comment on Nextdoor and just wanted people to know that that's something that I'm interested in. Other people have been interested in it. And rather than spending millions and millions and millions of dollars and going into debt for a hostile takeover of a system that's already serving us, we could do something for the community as far as water treatment possibly. And that would be something that the community would really benefit and actually want. So that's my comment on that part. And then as well, still would like to see something on the agenda for the sale of Old Town Hall or the building. And that's something that I'm very interested in as well, because in looking at the cost of the building that is in our packet tonight, I think it's $44,000 for the land, $403,000 for the building is what it costs the town. And in this market, I'm just really concerned about the price of that real estate going down, and possibly the townspeople would want to do something different with that building than to take such a huge loss on it. And so that's why I have requested, and I know that you, Mayor, and Councilor Abrams and Holly turned down my request for that.
We saw your posting on Nextdoor.
Right, well, I'm just saying here in my comments that I'm requesting that still. If any of you have second thoughts about that, I really would like to have the discussion and give the public the opportunity to give input on it. So thank you.
Next up is Councilor Abrams.
Well, I don't have a whole lot going on this evening. The one thing that I do want to put out there is a great big thank you to Santa Fe County. The piece of trail that I have been ranting about for months has been incomplete now for years, has now been completed. The giant sinkhole that was in the middle of it has been filled in, thankfully, so if somebody doesn't go riding a bicycle or riding a horse or running through there and falling into it, that would have been horrible. Anyway, thank you, Santa Fe County. Thank you for the work crew that came out. Thank you, Santa Fe County Fire Chief, and thank you, County Manager. I think it was very timely that it got done. Now we actually have a trail that's going to connect to our other adventures on Section 16, and I think will be well used, because most of it already is well used. It would be nice now to see the extension go north. We do, by the way, just for everyone's information, we do have maintenance and right-of-way for the 344 trail all the way to Frost Road, actually all the way to South Mountain Elementary School. So if we want to, we can certainly improve that trail and connect it to the one that goes up 472, and maybe even, I don't know, in our upgrades of Frost Road, maybe we could have something that goes west. Who knows? Other than that, I would like to ask everyone to be very, very careful. We have seen a major uptick in the number of COVID cases in the state. It is getting cooler out. People are tending to spend more time indoors, and I don't know what the catalyst has been to run the numbers up as high as they have been, but with over 400 average, a day for over a week, it's not looking very positive. There are some grumblings among business owners, and I do understand that. I sympathize on one side with the problems that they're seeing. I'm hopeful that the grant funding that we have available will help them out, especially if things get worse. I'm hopeful that they won't, but I'm not going to count on that, unfortunately. Other than that, I don't have really anything much else, and I'll hand it back to, let's see, who is it? Councilor Abraham, I guess.
Councilor Abraham?
Kev, I have a couple things. One of the things that I had sent an email to Juan and Carla about was not just the signs, but also back before COVID shut everything down, we talked about doing a ceremony possibly for Veterans Day out at our memorial to maybe install one of those signs or where we want to put them or something like that. So I would like to request that we put that on the next October agenda so that we don't miss Veterans Day by, just not getting it on the agenda in time to set a time and a plan. I think as creative as staff is to be able to do a drive-through for Halloween trick-or-treating, I think we should be able to come up with some way to honor the Purple Heart recipients that go along with the proclamation that we created. So that right now is my number one priority because I would like to see that get done quickly. The next thing, Mr. Mayor, I know you did address my questions that I had sent to Juan and Carla, but I'm going to ask you politely to address the issue of them not responding to me. I understand that COVID has disrupted a lot of things. However, I am an elected official, a member of this governing body that deserve at least my questions answered. And so I would ask that since you are the head of this staff, that you please ask them kindly to respond to my request. The next thing I have is I am still concerned about the wastewater plant. I did make a request to have Mr. Hall available for questions about this wastewater report. It's the first one we've gotten in quite a while. I know that Carla had made commitments to somebody at NMED to post those reports on the website, and those still aren't being done. And one of the things that I was told was they're not posting them to avoid confusing us. Well, I would like to say that I think that is a ridiculous statement because we were not confused, we were deceived. NMED got the correct numbers, only council got incorrect information. I do believe that if our police department was currently being sued and under investigation for a lot of different things for not following the laws, the regulations, I do believe that we would expect more oversight, not less. And I know that Councilor Abrams, mantra is always, we're here to protect the health, welfare, and safety of the public. Well, I'm calling on this governing body to actually take that to heart. I don't think that less oversight is what we need. We put toxic waste on our roads and endangered the public with that. And then it was covered up. And I think that we do have a very fragile wastewater treatment plant. It is difficult to operate. It has a lot of needs. And because of that, I think we need more oversight, not less. And so I would request that you put the monthly testing on there, and that if that isn't going to be done, that we look at appointing an oversight committee, because we have been in violation of our 2016 water quality permit. I mean, our last groundwater quality permit since September of 2016. And yes, you said all of those are being addressed, but they haven't been addressed timely, and they certainly aren't all complete. There's still one we're waiting for them to say, yes, this has all been done. So even though we hear all how great the plant is working, and it's working better than it ever has, and all that kind of stuff, it will continue to have issues in the future. And I just think we need to be looking at those carefully. And those are my comments for tonight.
Councilor Holly.
All right, I just have a couple of announcements tonight. There will be a virtual story time this Saturday, October 17th, starting at 1:30. It's Princess Story Time with the Snow Queen. And it's requested, even though it's a virtual story time, that you do register with the library. So you can call them at 281-0138 or go online to register. And I know this is in our calendar at the end of the agenda, but just a reminder about that Halloween drive-through. You're encouraged to decorate your cars and have the kids come in costume. And I would suggest, if you do plan to participate, check out the information on the town's website, because the entrance will be westbound off of Dinkle in front of the south building of the old Edgewood Elementary School. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. The next item up then is matters from the clerk treasurer, Mr. Torres.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So first thing I have is the general election absentee and early voting schedule. Excuse me. So in-person voting began October 7th and it'll end October 31st at the Santa Fe County Clerk's Office. Absentee and in-person voting basically started October 6th. They mailed out the ballots, and they can be returned all the way up through the 31st. They were closed this Monday in observance of Columbus Day. The county clerk's office will only be voting on Saturday, October 31st only, but not the other early voting Saturdays. Those will be at the alternate sites. So beginning October 17th, this Saturday, early voting will begin here at the town offices.
And then you should note that for anybody maybe going to the clerk's office, it is the new building further up the street.
Yes, that is true. And then also here, if you don't want to mail in your absentee ballot, you can drop it off. The county will have a drop box that you can drop it in, and I believe they'll be taking those up to their facility. And the early voting will start here Saturday and go through Saturday, October 31st on Halloween. It'll be Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturdays will be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Next thing is the report on the traffic study request for Jane Lane. So we did mail out the letters to Jane Lane property owners, and initially we had 1 yes and 5 no responses. Then after the deadline, we received 3 more yes votes, 1 more no, and then 1 other response. And you should have all the responses in your packet. So still doesn't change the outcome. It's still 6 no of those residents, 4 yes, and then 1 other that don't want the town to do anything on that property, or on that road, sorry. As Councilor Abrams said, Santa Fe County did they are working to complete the trail section in front of the fire station. So we've been working with the county for that piece. A couple JPAs, we're still trying to get them to reopen, and so we can correct them. One will be for fire services. Hopefully with that one we can get we can be included in their emergency response plan, so we can get that one taken care of. We're working on the JPA with trying to get the JPA for dispatch services reopened as well. We're trying to get an MOU with the road department, between our two road departments, so if we're working on any roads that we share boundaries, or in our patchwork, where county maintenance ends, county maintenance begins, where we have that little patchwork that when either one of us is going to be doing work on the road, whether it be painting, chip seal, something of that nature, that we'll contact one another to see if we would like to, do our little 100-yard patch or whatever square isn't being done. So as soon as we have all those, we'll get you guys copies of them, and that's all I have for tonight.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a couple questions for Juan. First, I wanted to find out about the bond capacity presentation and our road department director's presentation to council now that the quarter has ended.
So the bond capacity, I've requested RBC Capital Markets give us an updated request. So as soon as I get that, we'll get that on the agenda for you. And Chuck will be presenting his road department report at the end of the month.
Okay, that is good. And then also I had requested a list of all of the town cell phone numbers and people that I can reach after hours, because I guess actually after the last meeting where I said there were going to be a few legacy members over at the soccer field, Venus Park, that Friday night, it turned out to be locked. And I couldn't reach anyone. I called you, I called the mayor, I texted you, but I couldn't reach anyone. And so they were asking me, and it wasn't a large group or anything. So they ended up, I think it was like a handful of people, 7 or 8 people, but they ended up over at Edgewood Elementary, and there weren't any lights and things like that. So they said that they made it work, but I was just kind of disappointed that I couldn't reach anyone. So I would like a list of cell phone numbers with the staff. You have my email. You've had my email for a while on that request. So.
Okay, the next item then is action item, and we've heard already tonight. Topic is discussion, consideration, action on capital assets list for the town of Edgewood. Want to start with a motion on it? I'll entertain a motion and we can have some discussion.
What are you asking us to do on it?
Approve it, and so we can get it headed toward the next phase.
Which is what?
I guess presentation or showing it to the auditor when they get here. Anybody want to make a motion?
Councilor Abrams is talking, but you can't hear him.
There's the motion. Now you can hear me. I had my microphone off.
What's the motion?
I'll move to approve the capital assets list for the town of Edgewood.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the capital assets list for the town of Edgewood. Let's go ahead with some discussion. Mr. Torres, go ahead with your...
Mayor, council, so after the audit came in last go around, and our capital asset was complete, and I don't know if you recall hearing the auditor speak that it was complete because of sins of the past, so to speak, previous administrations. They had done capital projects or accepted roads into the town and were not put on the list. So we went through and basically drove all of our roads, identified the roads that were improved, came up with the listing, searched our records to see if we had anything for them, and then for the roads we didn't have records for, which was a pretty substantial list. Broken Arrow, Cowboy Way, Duke, Epic, Evening Star Court, Evening Star Loop, Half Moon Road, Moriarty Road, Plaza Loop, Plaza Court, Quail Trail, West Willard, Hermosa, Montana, and Serrata Drive. We contracted out with Bohannon Houston to establish some values for them, since there were no records on the actual values of the roads. So they use the PASER rating system, and that's Pavement Surface Evaluation and Rating. So they went through and identified all of the roads that were not on that asset listing and included them in what the current value of the road is, what the construction of a new road would be, and the cost of the improvements. So we have all of that and have added those to our list, along with the additions and deletions from this past year. So we have, probably for the first time ever, the most complete assets listing in the town has ever had.
Mr. Torres, were some of these roads acquired through the annexation?
Yes, Councilor.
I know the future roads were.
Yes, Mayor, Council, and actually a lot of the roads were either acquired but through annexation or donated by the developer. And part of the problem with both of those is there was not any record when the roads were accepted, when there was from a developer. We reached out to the county to see what they had on their books. They actually never had these roads on their books. They actually don't have any roads on their books. So that's where we kind of were back to the drawing board and came up with, well, let's get an independent engineer to come in and give us a value based upon, a nationally recognized road rating system.
Well, thank you for that.
Indeed.
We have a very complete list of roads, so thank you.
And Mayor, Council, so this will be the last time you will ever see our assets in this format. So we're currently in the process of transitioning them over to our accounting system, which the town did purchase, I want to say, back in 2007, 2008. They actually purchased the fixed asset module, and it's never been used. So we will get all these assets inputted onto that. And so next year you will not see this listing. You will see a system generated report from our financial system.
Mr. Torres, I do have questions. I wish that you had involved me. So I feel disappointed about that. I'm really glad that Bohannon Houston was able to, add some value to the road and make sure that all of the roads are on there. I'm more concerned about, as I had expressed to you before, just the years of capital outlay. So I'm wondering if you had gone back and reconciled the capital outlay expenditures to the additions, because it still doesn't seem complete.
Well, Mayor, Council, so all the capital outlay additions that we've done since we've been here have been on here. Looking back through the additions and what was done at the time, those were all inputted into the system previously, and we went to each asset and verified them. I mean, we've only been in existence 20 years, so it was pretty easy to identify the assets that we do have. We don't have very many capital assets in the town. So I feel this is probably, like I said, this is probably the most complete list, if not, that the town has ever had.
It probably is getting there, I would agree. It looked to me like it's really hard to follow this list, but I did not see the sewer infrastructure for the enterprise fund. And my other concern about completeness was, of course, like I've mentioned in the past, the GASB 51, Governmental Accounting Standard Board's requirements for intangibles. And I think someone already mentioned the easement and rights of ways and anything that we needed to add on there. So for that reason, I would just suggest that the list needs a little more work before we approve it, just to make sure that those items are properly reflected. I also know that while the auditor may have said this was all sins of the past or whatever, there was a huge misstatement in highways and streets last year. So I think it was something like, it was over $1 million that was completely misclassified. So I don't think that they can accurately say that.
Anybody else have any questions?
I see general government, public safety, highways and streets, but I'm not seeing like the proper breakout that's going to go into the financials. So,
Councilor Abrams or Councilor Hawley have any questions?
I would have come and sat with you and we could have gone over these things together and kind of avoided this delay.
All due respect, Mayor Councilor, when I did speak with you about it, you just said it was going to be a lot of hard work and told me good luck. So I don't know where this offer of help is now coming from.
That's actually not the truth.
That is correct, Councilor, and we can have this discussion at a later date. But
I have emails to prove it. I've met with you. I've offered my help many, many times, and you know it.
Any of the other councilors have any questions for Mr. Torres?
So, Mr. Torres, the items that Councilor Jaramillo is asking for, you had said earlier, and I want just a quick clarification, that you've gone through all of the town's records.
correct.
To produce this list. So this is from our records. So if we don't have a record of an easement, or we don't have a record of a, in quotes, intangible, then it's not in our records, and it's not on our books. So in order to get it on our books, and we had this discussion once before, in order to get it on our books, we're going to have to spend a good piece of change to do a in-depth research of county records, because we don't have them. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor Council. So the town does not keep records of easements of anything that was donated to the town, or through the annexations, nor is it required to. It is not a requirement if someone donates an easement that the town approve the easement, it's just not required. Now, if the town does a project and we go out and actually purchase easement or something like that, that easement is included with the project cost and put on with that project. And that's how we've always done it. Looking back and through the history of the town with the projects, those were the easements that were acquired, put in with the project and done. But you're correct. The town does not keep a record of easements that are filed with the county. And we're not required to keep a record of those easements with the county, because if we were, we would have to sign off on them before they were submitted to the county. You can go and donate your entire property as an easement to the town, never tell the town, and no one would ever know about it until there's a title search.
Thank you.
And so I just want to point out that this is not necessarily a county requirement, but Councilor Abrams, like I've mentioned before, just like
Councilor Jaramillo, I do understand the requirement, and I have.
Excuse me, I'm speaking, and you rudely interrupted me.
Stop talking over one another, one at a time.
I just don't want to go into this
You're
discussion
rudely
again.
interrupting me. You're rudely interrupting me.
I know I'm rudely interrupting you because I want you to hear what I have to say before you can continue. What I have said before is we are going to have to spend an inordinately large amount of money to research what you're asking for. Do you want to do that?
Counselor, did you listen to the public and did you listen to myself about how that's not the case?
Okay, somebody's got to do it.
That is not the case. We don't have to have every single one for, I think the clerk estimated millions of dollars or something. I mean, no, that is not the case. We already discussed that and corrected that misconception in a different previous meeting. But regardless of that, what I'm saying to you about the listing of assets, because you had mentioned, Councilor Abrams, that if we didn't have the paperwork, that then, it can't be on the list. But I just want you to know, just like a library, if you have the book, you need a list that you have that book, right? It's called an inventory. And so regardless of if previous administrations threw something out or, whatever happened, it is, a process of reconciling those numbers and bringing everything on, including the intangibles. So, things, just simple things. Like I think there were easements donated, I think Karen just mentioned, by the mayor's family in the past. And certainly, that would be documentation that the town would have, right? So it's not that somebody needs to go to the county for $2 million. It's just a little bit more diligence in those items to bring them onto the list. If we own
Council, if I may, so those easements you're speaking about are part of the sewer line, which is included on the list. Like I was saying earlier, it's part of the project, the overall complete project.
Yep.
It's not separated out piecemeal wise, because if it were those specific easements, since they were donated, they were given to us for free, how do you put a dollar value on that? But it's part of it is part of the project, and so that is recorded. Those are part of the project costs. Same thing looking back at the old sewer line where the lift station was put in. Those easements were actually purchased, and that is part of that project cost. Those are on the books.
Have been all these years.
Right.
Seemed to work pretty good up till about 2018.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilor Abraham.
I have some comments. I know that there's some reluctance to listen to Councilor Jaramillo. However, she is the expert in this area. Just like we listened to Councilor Abrams on our IT questions, I would like her very valuable expertise to be accessed for the public. We're not going to do everything perfectly. In the future, maybe we'll do better. We'll look back and we say, oh, we messed up this and we messed up that. But we should never fail to be striving for our best. And if we have experts in a certain area, which this is her expertise, just like Councilor Abrams is an expert IT person, I think we need to take advantage of that. And so I would like to ask Juan to sit with Councilor Jaramillo and maybe be able to come to some kind of an agreement that would be a more complete list that does qualify for the GASB 51 that I know she wants us to meet. And there's no reason to settle for mediocre when we don't have to.
I think I would question your thing that she's an expert on easements. I don't think she's ever given an easement to anybody in her life.
I didn't say she was an expert on easements. I said she's an expert on audits. And this is a result of an audit finding.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question or two.
Go ahead, Councilor Holly.
Did I hear correctly that Santa Fe County does not have their roads listed on a capital asset inventory?
No.
Mayor Council,
They do not.
that is correct. So we reached out to every road that was brought in for the annexation, and the county does not have their roads on their asset list. We reached out to the Public Works Director, and he said, you know, they've been trying to get it done, and they still don't have it done. They still don't have a complete list. What they do is they do something similar to what we ended up doing with the Pazer rating system. And that's actually what they did this last go around when was an annexation by the city of Santa Fe. They looked up and basically did a Pazer rating to get an estimated approximate value of the road and the current condition it was in.
And can I ask what that cost us to have Bohannon and Houston do that for us?
I believe we just did that budget adjustment, so that was $40,000.
Okay.
Oh, was that for the? I thought that was to determine how we wanted our roads to look in the future.
Correct. You're right. That one was this one was $20,000. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
So Mayor, Council, I guess what I'm asking for and what I'm willing to do is just to, like Councilor Abraham asked as well, is just to sit down, take a look at the numbers, the capital outlay, with our clerk, with Mr. Torres, like I've always been willing to do, and just make sure that we have a complete listing. And then that way, when we approve this, which is a serious responsibility, a fiscal responsibility of this council, there's a state statute that governs this action you're going to take tonight. So I want you to understand it's a state statute. If you certify this list not feeling completely comfortable that it is complete, then you would be lying, right? So it's just a really important step that we know what assets we have and that it reconciles to the accounting records. And to get that comfort level, you go back and look at the accounting, and then also that can clear our audit qualification this year. It's possible. So that's why I'm just being cautious and careful, and want to do the right thing for the town. I'm not trying to be controversial about it. I just want to make sure that the list is accurate. And, you know, like I said, I'm willing to go in and take a look. So if you all are willing to table this until the next meeting perhaps, then I would ask that you consider that.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I would like to table it and have it be the most complete that we can get it.
I think I like it how it is. It's pretty good. It's way more comprehensive than anything we've ever had before. And it gives us something to build on going forward. I know we've got, the audit coming up to do, and I'd like to be able to give it to them and see what they think of it. Like I say, this is really pretty good, and it's a good work product from Bohannon and from Juan and staff here. I think it's pretty good to go tonight.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Jaramillo, what's missing?
What's missing is the GASB 51 intangibles, and that I can't see the streets correction from last year that was materially misstated, and also the reconciliation of capital outlay to this list so that we can make sure that everything that the town spent the money on is accounted for. I know the roads, it sounds like the roads were, all examined.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Torres, do you have that reconciliation?
Mayor, Council, we don't, we've everything we've ever added, it's in there. Part of the problem that also comes up is the town's changed accounting systems, so trying to find ancient accounting records that don't exist. If you recall, there was a flood all those years ago in the annex, so records are just gone. They don't exist. So to the best of my knowledge, this is the best asset listing we have. I don't know where anyone would expect to find those records. They just flat out don't exist.
I understand that some of the details may be missing, but we do have the audits going back that would show the capital outlay, and then just the difference between the sewer infrastructure assets and then the government assets, which are two totally different lists. So the capital outlay is reported, and I have the whole right here behind me on this shelf. I have all of the audits that I could get off of the website. So, you know, I'm available. I guess I would just ask you guys to give us a little bit of time to look at it. Like I said, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just take this responsibility really seriously.
Well, I appreciate that this is your line of work, but I'm not sure that I appreciate the wait and the time to do it. They've went at it pretty hard and fast here to come up with all this. They've compiled as good a record as they can. I think it's worth going with. If we run into problems, then we'll learn from that. But this is a list here that I've never seen before, so I know it's quite extensive. I think I would urge go ahead and pass it tonight, and you know, let's see where it goes. So if there's no further discussion, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Start here with Councilor Jaramillo.
Nay.
Councilor Abrams.
Yay.
Councilor Abraham.
Nay.
Councilor Holly.
I'm comfortable with the work the staff has done. Aye.
We have a tie vote. In that case, the mayor can vote to break the tie. The mayor votes aye. Next item up is calendar review. The next regular council meeting will be the 28th of October. Here at 6:30, it'll be in here again because they'll be voting. The Halloween drive-boo, that is on the 30th, starts at 5:30 p.m. And I think that was pretty good advice to be sure to look over all that stuff about how to conduct it and distancing and everything like that. Thank you, Councilor Holly, for reminding that it comes in off of Dinkle. And then it winds down, I guess, through the parking lot and out through the gate over here by the baseball fields.
No, it stays back off onto Dinkle because of voting that evening.
That's right. They'll have it in here, so they got to loop around that way. Okay.
Everything's on the other side. Yep.
Good catch. That brings us to our last item is we need to discuss council. That's our November council meetings. The 11th is Veterans Day. We'll be closed. That leaves us the 25th, which is the day before Thanksgiving. We've already had people indicating they're going to be traveling. So at November, our choices are slide it one way or the other, or go on the 18th and hope that we have the financials and stuff ready for that. Because once we hit the 26th, you know, the month's over. And so people are planning on traveling on the 25th. So I'd like a little feedback from you on what you think about maybe just meeting on the 18th one time.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, the only question I have is if we're going to have financials.
Right.
And, you know, if we don't have financials by the 18th, then, you know, hi, how are you?
Yeah. Just kind of an awkward, looking at the calendar there, it's kind of an awkward arrangement, but that's kind of our choices. Anyway, I don't think we have to decide it right tonight, but kind of be thinking on it, council, and let us know your thoughts on it. And other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
We got a motion. We got a motion to adjourn in a second. Do a roll call vote. Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
And Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye. And then I just wanted to clarify, we have our meeting when is our next meeting? The 28th?
28th.
So we're keeping that one for sure, right?
Yes, that one will be here. Like I say, we'll be back in the office here because they'll be up there voting that night. So kind of be thinking about your November schedule. Thank you, council. We're adjourned.